Hello, everyone. This is Yoga Premananda. I'm really excited to introduce you guys to AJ Parr. He's also an author and the host of the AJ Parr Spiritual Journalist podcast, which you guys should definitely go check out. So, hello, AJ. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Yoga, for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, and so I met you. I came to your presentation at the IONS conference where you were presenting really beautiful integrated information about the near-death experience, all the books you've written and all the research that you've done over the many years. The first question is, I'm wondering what draws you to near-death experiencers, their enlightening accounts of crossing over, and everything that the near-death experience community has to offer humanity.
Well, I had what I call a near-death-like experience. I was talking yesterday to one of the pioneer researchers, uh, Nancy Evans Bush. She said that what I had was actually a near-death experience, that
Mm.
many people do not have to encounter death in order to have an NDE. But I always like to say it's a near-death-like experience. However, I was sleeping one night and I think I stopped breathing because when I came back, the first thing I did was gasp for air. And
Mm.
I really, it was a very long gasp. But it started when I thought I had woke up in the middle of the night and I looked around and it was all dark. It was completely dark. I raised my hands and I couldn't see anything, not even my hands. So I got scared. I looked around and it was completely dark. And I sort of felt a presence, or perhaps I only imagined, hey, what's if someone or something was hidden in this darkness, I would never know. No?
Yeah.
So as soon as I thought that, I got scared. And I got even more scared when I heard a voice. So I
Mm.
was right. And this voice said, surrender, all is one. Immediately, it was like a command because I relaxed. I did not fear anymore, but something in my chest, a hollow feeling in my chest, started expanding. And it started growing and growing. And as it grew, I was amazed because I could feel it, but I didn't know what it was. And it grew larger than myself, larger than my house, larger than everything. And all of a sudden, I found myself in the middle of a bright star. I could see up and down to the right, to the left, but I could not see myself in the middle, you know? So I could see in all directions, and these beams of light seemed to extend infinitely. And I could also see, I don't know if this happened at once, all at once, simultaneously, because I could see the center, the middle, and each ray extending. I could also see each ray of light surrounded by a small empty space next to the separating it from the nearest ray of light. So each ray of light seemed to occupy like an empty space, and it had a little empty space around it, allowing it to have like individuality. So this each ray
Do you think
uh,
this was a star? Because even as you're describing it, it almost sounds like it could be the sun, like that powerful. But you
could
feel
be, well, the sun is a star,
yeah.
but that's the only way I can describe it. It was
Mm.
so huge and it was pure light, almost golden, because I could, it almost seemed like glass, it's really hard to describe because I had never seen and have never seen anything like it. So I could feel that I was all light, but I could also feel that I was the emptiness that was being occupied by the light. So I
Mhm.
had this double sensation of being full and being empty at the same time.
Yeah.
So this feeling while I was feeling this, I did not have thoughts. I didn't say, hey, I'm here. No, I just felt it. It was like overwhelming. I did not remember ever being human. I mean, since I didn't have thoughts, I did not reflect or think. So I did not bring up any memories of my actual life. I was simply the stars. Shh. There was this like a wind sound or almost a roar. It was very loud and it was very overwhelming. So
Ah,
while I was there, I felt that I occupied the universe or all existence, that I was one, that I was the only conscious that existed in the whole creation. So when I felt this, I don't know how long I stayed there, but it's impossible to describe how long, but it seemed like ages. Okay, so when I woke up, I realized I had that memory. I had that memory really fresh in my mind. So I grabbed my head and said, "What? You know what had just happened?" And I could remember it was so fresh in my mind that I had like this double sensation of being in my room, waking up, but I could also remember being there as the light. So I was really surprised because it was really an impact for me because the fact that you can see in all directions at the same time is something completely out of this 3D world. So I woke up, I got up, surprised. I looked around. I didn't know what to think, but I could feel that I was also everything that I could see.
mm,
I felt like everything that surrounded me was also part of me because I could still feel that emanation from the center of my heart,
mhm,
that same emptiness that I felt and that I can still sometimes feel in the center of my heart. That was the same emptiness that I felt in the center of the star.
mm,
So that feeling in my chest persisted. And when I looked around, I felt that everything that surrounded me was part of me. So I went up to the nearest wall and I pressed my hand against the wall. But when I pressed my hand against the wall, I could feel that I was the hand pressing against the wall, but I was also the wall pressing back. I could feel myself like in a double consciousness. I could feel myself in the hand, but I could also feel the wall pressing back. And this was even weirder. So I really didn't know what to think. This was back in 1991.
ah,
There
1990.
was, yeah, there was no internet. There were books, not many books. I had never heard about near-death experiences. So I thought it was like a mystical experience,
Mm,
but I didn't have anyone to share it with.
mhm,
I did mention it to some of the people I saw, like my family members, but they thought it was a dream. They didn't really give it importance. And during the following days, this sensation gradually diminished during the first and second day. On the second night, I was still asking myself, what happened? What was that? What was that all about? And I was asking God or the universe, uh, give me an explanation, right? Shortly before that experience, I had had like a discussion with God. I had told him, hey, uh, you're never giving me a spiritual, mystical experience. I've been researching religions. I had joined several religious groups from different religions. I had done meditation. So I got angry at God and had told him, okay, I'm not going to look for you anymore. just going to live a normal life and forget about my spiritual search.
Mm.
So about 2 weeks later, I had this experience. So I asked God, okay, God, what was this all about? And that night, I felt a presence stepping into my room. I was writing, I was working. I'm a writer, I'm a journalist. So I was writing at the time, and I felt this presence coming in from behind. And I felt like it was a very old entity.
Mm.
And I thought I was like transmitted a small poem. It was like a download, what people call a download. I didn't use that term back then. I simply got the inspiration, and this poem came, and it said, "In the beginning was the one, but the one was alone, and he wanted to play. So the one divided himself into two, and gave number two amnesia, and thus the game began."
Mm.
After that, when I heard this, or the first thing I did was I wrote it down, and then I realized that that more or less explained what I had experienced. You know, I had experienced being the one, or oneness,
Yeah.
and I also realized that we are all part of that oneness, but with amnesia, we don't remember it. So that allows us to be like individual beings. And it was also the story of creation,
Mm.
because people say that God created the universe, or God created everything, right? But how did it create it? Where did he find, what did he use to create it? And he used himself, this according to this explanation. So it was really, it made sense. So I said, okay, I had this experience. It not only makes sense, but I can still feel it. I can still feel myself there. So this must be part of a bigger truth. So back then I had many spiritual books. So I started. I said, if this is true, Jesus must have mentioned it. So this must be something that is mentioned in the Bible. And I remember that in the Bible it says, that God said, there let be light, and there was light. So the light, I realized, that has always played an important part, not only in Christianity, which considers that God is light, also Judaism, they refer to God as the light, but also in other religions like Hinduism. And I found while reading the scriptures, I realized that there were mentions. For example, in the Gospels, it is said that God is light, and in him there is no darkness at all. This is in the Gospel of John, and it's also said in that same Gospel that in him, in Jesus, was life, and the life was the light of all people.
Mm.
Jesus also said, I am the light of the world. So I started realizing that, at least in Christianity, this light was mentioned. Also in the Hinduism, they also believe that God, or Brahman, is the light of all lights. That's how they define him. That's how they define God, source, whatever you want to call it. And they also talk about the sun as being the symbol of this light. And the same thing with Buddhism. Buddhism considers that reality. They call it the clear light of
Mm.
reality. And the same goes for many religions. So this led me to a 30-year study of the different religions. And this, in turn, led me to start studying near death experiencers.
Yeah.
And I realized that many of the things I felt are present in many NDEs. Going through the dark, which they call the void, being able to see in all directions at the same time, which is called 360-degree vision, and also merging with the light, which is something that a lot of people experience, and also the oneness experience. So finally, I understood that what I had had was a near-death experience or a near-death-like experience.
Yeah. And it's just so beautiful that you prayed for it. You asked for it, and what you prayed for was given to you in such a beautiful way. And it's interesting how it went from the fear part, how you did experience some fear, but then you went into the beauty of it and the magical. Yeah.
Yeah, when I was in the void or in this dark place, I was terrified. But when I came back, I was also terrified. I mean, this was really distressing because I had no one to talk to. I would, when I tried to share it, people, they either thought that it was a dream or that I was crazy. I always considered it in the back of my mind, and I always also said it many times, or not many times, but I said, this is a blessing, but it is also a curse
Yeah.
because I will never be able to be normal again.
Yeah. Do you feel like, so to date, do you feel like that was still your biggest mystical experience, firsthand experience?
Well, after that, and even before that, ever since I was a kid, I had lucid dreams. That means I could wake up in the dream, realize it was a dream, and interact, either change in the dream or waking up.
Mm.
And after the this experience, I started, these beings would show up in dreams, and I had tests. It was like an initiation.
Yeah.
So I had different tests, and I had to go through different degrees, if you to call it some way. Some of them were really scary, and I have had many other experiences, like a shared death experience and out of body experiences and these lucid dreams that always repeat. And but I do think that my 1991 experience is the strongest I've ever had, but it did not stop there.
Yeah. It's an unfoldment. And so, okay, it's interesting too, because you said that at first there was like this feeling in your heart, in your chest,
Yes.
expanded out. Um, do you think that that was your heart chakra expanding? Because it sounds like that might have been your heart
Okay.
was
You
expanding.
know, when you're scared or
Mm,
terrified, you feel that emptiness in your heart area. Okay. Also, when you're in a car and you go through over a bump, you feel that, or when you're falling, your heart area seems to expand a little and you can feel the emptiness. I don't know if you've noticed it, but when I was there, I was scared. I felt that emptiness in my chest. And when I heard surrender, all is one, I stopped being afraid. However, that emptiness persisted. So I had time to say, hey, if I'm no longer scared, why do I feel this? And then I realized that that emptiness in my chest was not necessarily the effect of being scared, that it was something else. And now I understand that it is the presence of the divine within us.
yeah.
Not only that, sometimes I close my eyes and I imagine that this is my body, okay, my physical body. But if I close my eyes and focus on my heart, I realize that there within me is that star.
Yes.
Okay, so
That's beautiful.
I'm not that much into chakras.
Hmm.
or and that part of the spirituality. I've sort of neglected it because I have always been interested in finding my own explanation. And I also think that the heart chakra is not the most important. However, I feel the heart in itself,
Mm.
that's where our soul resides.
Mm.
That's my belief.
Hmm.
I also found several different mystics that believe this too,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And this is beautiful. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And especially with the lucid dreams, because me too, talking to a lot of people that have had NDEs, that's definitely always been another common experience that people have had, you know, becoming very, very lucid, either in periods before or after or since childhood. So now that, so do you feel like knowing everything that you know, also experiencing your NDE and talking to so many NDEers, you can see all the wisdom that's held in these NDE experiences. How do you feel, maybe on a practical level, we can utilize some of this wisdom and the transformative power of a near-death experience to help upgrade society or to help humanity?
Well, I think most of all, people need to realize that death is not the end. Death is only a stage or a gateway to another existence. I think we are eternal. We're people. A lot of people say we are spirits having a human experience, but I say we are God having a human experience.
Yeah.
So eh, I am not aware that I am God consciously, but since I had my experience, I know that that's the truth. However, this amnesia that we have is something that is obligatory because otherwise we would merge into everything and stop being humans. So the only way that this universe can exist is through that mechanism. The smallest subatomic particle is also God having a subatomic particle experience. And everything you look around, a rock, a stone, is also God having a stone experience. So everything is part of God. However, God, in order to have all these experiences, allows multiplicity. I am into non-dual spirituality.
Mhm.
Non-dualness, it means that there is no good or bad. There is no tall and short. There is there are no opposites,
Yeah.
and opposites really are complementary.
Mm.
The light and the shadow complement, and so do evil and goodness. Some people call evil. You may say, "Oh, I went through this tough divorce. It was so evil. I had such a bad time." But then 2 years later, "Oh, I'm really glad I got divorced because I wouldn't have met my new husband." So even things like good and evil
Yeah.
are relative. Everything in this dual world is relative.
Yeah.
We cannot say something is completely evil, and
Yeah.
we cannot say something is completely good, but we can say that everything is good. Everything is taking us to this journey back home, to this journey back to the source. And I think that it's time for people to realize several things. One, that you don't have to belong to any religion to have a direct contact with God.
Yeah.
You can belong to a religion if you want, but the religions do not guarantee that direct contact.
Mhm.
Spirituality implies having a direct relationship, not only with God, but with all everything we consider spiritual. And also, one of the main things I learned from other experiencers is the life review. A
Mhm.
lot of people are not judged by things they accomplished or things they did or did not do. They are judged by the way they treat others, basically. and no one judges you except yourself. So when I realized this, I became aware of all the times I've mistreated people in the
Yeah.
past, and it's tough. I think people that watch NDE videos suffers some kind of transformation in the long run. I think it's good for people to learn about these experiences because they are transformative. They do teach us, above all, that death is not the end, that we are the only ones judging ourselves,
Mm.
that God loves all his children, and that we are here for a purpose. And that purpose is basically heading back to the source,
Yeah.
merging back with God.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, thank you for sharing that wisdom. It's really amazing. And so my final question before we wrap up, I know that I actually watched your interview. You interviewed Dr. Raymond Moody, and he's the father of creating the near-death experience term. And one of my favorite books of Raymond Moody's Proof of Life After Life. So amazing, all the work he did in this near-death experience field. So when you interviewed him, I was just wondering, yeah, did he feel like an old friend to you? Did you have fun speaking to him? What was that like?
Well, I've interviewed him 3 times now. Yeah, he's really friendly. He's really open to meet people. He was really friendly with me, and I did feel that I was like meeting an old friend. But I really respect him because he was the first near-death researcher in the world. So he's an authority, and I think that he is really clear on about regarding these phenomena. He knows that these are not hallucinations, that these things actually happen. However, he is precautious and he does not uh, draw too many conclusions.
Mm,
He knows that no two NDEs are identical, yet they do share common traits. And he was the first one to point these commonalities out. Uh, I, after interviewing him 3 times, I asked him if he could write the foreword of my latest book, which is called The Girl Who Visited Heaven, this
yeah,
book here, and he wrote the foreword.
that's amazing. Congratulations, AJ. That's incredible.
Yeah. And my previous book, which was the first NDE book, is
Yeah,
called Stairway to Heaven, and Dr. Melvin Morse
beautiful.
wrote the foreword.
Okay.
So Dr. Melvin Morse is the pioneer NDE researcher in children. So I've been lucky enough to have their support. Melvin Morse is sort of my mentor,
Mm,
and Dr. Raymond Moody is Melvin Morse's mentor.
yeah.
So
So really
I
continuing.
met Raymond through Melvin Morse.
Mm,
So the mentor of my mentor is Raymond Moody,
yeah.
and my mentor
Oh,
introduced him to me.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you coming and sharing with us and all the wisdom that you're able to share. So appreciate you.
Well, thanks a lot. If people want to contact me, they can write to ajparbooks@gmail.com. I also have a YouTube channel, AJ Parr Spiritual Journalist, NDE News. And I also have a publishing company. I published a second edition of Raymond Moody's book, Reunions. I just helped them publish it on Amazon. I also published Daniel Brinkley's one of Daniel Brinkley's second edition of his second book. And I help authors publish their work in Amazon. If anyone's interested, they can contact me. And I'm really glad you invited me, Yoga. I'm a big fan.
Thank you so much, AJ. I'll talk to you very soon. Thank you.